Well, hello there once again. This is John Miller and Chuck, and we are here at a location that 1 year ago today was the first time we were here. Kate actually made me aware, which I knew was coming up, but I didn't think about it. That the first video I did for this channel was July 4th of 2021 with Cliff the Wandering Woodsman. We came out here to a very familiar place. We've been here twice before at the old Hanover Presbyterian Churchyard. We were here on July 4th last year to talk about July 4th because this is a cemetery with so much age. It has a lot of veterans from both French and Indian War and the Revolutionary War, which is our war for independence. And then we came back later for the Pennsylvania Historic Marker as well. So we are returning here again 1 year later, July 4th, 2022, to not only talk about Independence Day, again, just a quickie, but also talk about the 1 year anniversary of the channel. So I'm going to turn this camera around and we're going to check out the cemetery again and probably take a couple pictures for Instagram as well. So we'll see you in a sec. And there we are at that familiar gate. And once again, I'm not going to do a ton of walking because I'm doing way better, but still having an issue. But there used to be a church here. It was a Presbyterian. It was referred to Hanover Presbyterian Churchyard, also as the Old Hanover, also I believe as Old Englisher, because the Amish would refer to those that were not Amish as Englishers. So this was Presbyterian church here. This is the one we talked about. We had confusion with one of the signers. There was a Hanover Resolve, Colonel John Rogers. They do have him listed here on the placard over here that he's buried here, but this was his home church. But apparently he passed in the Derry area, which would be Hershey now, and he's actually buried over there. But you do have Colonel William Allen, and I believe the William Allen is the guy that was, you have the Secretary of the Treasury, and then you had the Treasurer of the United States. He was the fourth Treasurer of the United States. He's buried here somewhere. He is buried here actually, unlike John Rogers. I wasn't able to find his stone because so many of the stones here, I mean, they're 250 years old, some of them, and they're just, there's so much wear, you're just not going to be able to see. But this is the Old Hanover or Manada Presbyterian Churchyard, established in 1736, and it's registered in Pennsylvania's official inventory of historic places. And then their placard there, but this has all the names of the different soldiers and patriots that were buried here from the American Revolution. And you have the American flag. So we're gonna quick open this thing if I can figure out how, because I know this was not the easiest thing in the world to open the last time I tried. So we will go through here, hopefully not get stabbed or anything, and then we'll talk about this place. Quite a few, like I said, there's quite a few Revolutionary War vets. Most of them here are Revolutionary War vets. I think over that direction you start to see there might be a War of 1812 vet. I believe there's also some French and Indian War veterans in here, but there is some Civil War vets over towards that direction. But we're not gonna, I might walk around and do a couple Instagram pics, but we will stop, and I'm gonna sit here on this pretty little chair, which will make things easier for me, because I am being very, very cautious right now. I probably could walk more, but I just try not to push it, because I'm trying to let my feet really, really heal. And this little area here, there are people buried throughout here, and this may be where that Colonel William Allen is buried. Now, it could be something as simple as that was like his father, Colonel William Allen, and sorry, the son William Allen is the William Allen that I'm talking about, who was the fourth treasurer, because I think that was where some confusion was. We probably will check out that one stone, because that's the one that's very, very unique. It was two individuals who had been killed in a French and Indian War raid, and they actually have that on the stone. It's a much newer stone, but it is it had to re-erect it because he had people that were, I guess, treasure or relic seekers, and they kept on chipping more and more off of the stone. So eventually the stone was to the point where it was just ruined. So they wound up replacing it with this new marker, probably like 20 years ago or something of that nature. But yeah, most of those American flags that you're seeing there, those were Revolutionary War soldiers, and the sacrifices that they made. We celebrate this Independence Day here on July 4th. It's because of these gentlemen. It's because of these patriots, because of the women that stood beside them, and so many people that were they were heroes. They took on the greatest empire on earth at that stage, and they believed in their freedom. They believed in their sanctity of that freedom, and they were willing to make any sacrifices whatsoever. And it's this being in Hanover, you had the Hanover Resolves, Colonel John Rogers. This was his home church. That line that they had in there, that we resolve to basically place our fate in the hands of God and in our rifles. They were willing to take up arms against this empire because they felt that they were being mistreated and were not being represented appropriately. They felt that they were English citizens, and they were. And unfortunately, the British Empire, was not treating them as such. And it was equal. Taxation without representation is just not going to happen. They felt that they were not being equally represented, and that was our war for independence. There were a lot of things to that, a lot of heroes, a lot of stories. We've gone through a bunch of them so far, talking about local heroes and what they did. And we are here as a country in America because of what they did, what these gentlemen did. So with that, I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to talk a little bit about the channel, and you get to look at me a little bit more on our 1-year anniversary. Alright, so I'm back. Got a lot of bikers coming by here, but so as Kate pointed out to me, she said, you're coming up on the 1-year anniversary, and it was sort of, I didn't come here planning to film. Cliff and I were later that day. We were going to go with my sister, and we were going to go to see fireworks. It was the first time both of us had gone to see fireworks in a while, and he was going to film here because of the significance of this cemetery, its age, its connections with the American Revolution, its connections with the French and Indian War, our connection with our hometown history, our past. And I just sort of out of the blue was like, you know what? I'm going to film. We're going to see how it works. And I was pretty happy with the end result. And that was the first video that we had for the channel. And that was exactly 1 year ago today. Now we're up to, I believe, 697 subscribers. So we're almost at that 700 mark now. I really honestly didn't think the channel was going to grow like this, that it was going to, and it probably would have been a lot bigger had the health issues and all the other stuff that I've sort of gone through hadn't happened, and been able to continue sort of at that pace that I had. And knock on the stone wall here, we got a good pace going again. Still not in a good place health-wise, much better than I was, say, a week or two ago, where I had to quit my job because it was just damaging my feet too much. But yeah, it's really been a cool journey. Usually the channels don't go like this. I'm fortunate. I know, with Cliff, with Wandering Woodsman, he's given me a lot of support, and that's built the channel as well. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I've talked about some of it. A lot of this stuff, fortunately, like right now, like I'm doing a lot of like really sort of tiny stuff that's simple. And even like the church cemetery that I did yesterday, I would have liked to have walked around a lot more. I would like to walk around this again, but it just is one of those things that's not going to happen because I just physically don't want to take the risk, because I'm healing and I'm doing well, and I'm still not sure what exactly is going to happen with the wound specialist and all that, because that's sort of, nobody seems all that bothered to get on that. So, maybe these things will wind out just healing naturally, and we'll go from there. But I'm still sort of not sure exactly what direction things are going to go in that regard. When they see him, if they're going to have a completely different opinion or whatever, what might happen. So it's sort of, we're at a stage, there's still a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of different things going on that, I sort of have reached a point where I don't think I have a choice but to go after disability again, and this time get a lawyer and go from there. And they'll be able to tell me from the get-go, do I have a legitimate shot or not, because they're not going to take me on if I don't. Because the big thing that hurts me is the fact that I'm under 45, and they're really hesitant to give somebody disability at that age, being that I'm only 42. So, but it's, I got a lot of hope. It's been discouraging in a lot of ways, just different things that have happened. But as I've said a lot of different times here, this channel has provided me with a solace, if you will, and to some degree a purpose, and really has changed my outlook in a lot of ways, and a lot of that has to do with you guys. So I really do want to say thank you, those of you that have supported this channel so much, and especially to you guys that have been here from the get-go. A lot of you came over from like Wandering Woodsman channel and really have become family. In my mind, you have, and I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for you guys, because it's, I don't know, when you're going through struggles, and Colleen and I had talked about a bunch of these different things, like, she has her channel, Colleen Unvarnished, and is sort of having a couple struggles there herself, and she says it's a good reminder that, and when I says, like, life isn't a journey that we take alone, and a lot of times, sometimes we just sort of look ahead and maybe even semi look aside, and we don't see anybody there. But at the end of the day, if we truly look, and we pause and we look and we reminisce and we really think and are grateful, we realize that it's a journey that we're not taking alone, that we have people aside of us and behind us, supporting us and pushing us forward, and that's what you guys have been for me. I'm very fortunate. So I do thank you. I'm very grateful for you guys' support and coming along on this journey with me. It's been an extraordinary journey, hard journey at times. At times you're sort of like, oh, I can't take any more. You're sort of like with the foot wounds, and so a major reason I quit is I want to let these things heal and then find what's appropriate for me, that I'm not going to be ripping my feet open all the time. And then that also enables me for them to go into my foot, do whatever corrections need to be made, and then get these shoes that should help in some way to sort of protect me from having some of this stuff happen as well. So you're sort of making baby steps and just taking it day by day, and then hoping at some point you're going to get to the stage that things are normal, and you don't have to worry about, oh, my feet are torn open and I can't walk, and I can start doing some other things, and in essence start moving forward on your future as well now, because everything's just sort of in hiatus right now, because it just is what it is. And but I'm very thankful that I'm at where I'm at, because last year I should have died, and it's, you get sepsis, normally that doesn't end well for somebody, and having the osteomyelitis, going through major surgery, and just never really, and then with all the other weird health things that happened, it was just a complete nightmare and circus. So, but got through that, and now it's just a matter of getting through these couple of little things that are just sort of holding things up, and at some point we'll get through that and then move on, and the channel is going to continue to grow and get better. And so thank you to Colleen Unvarnished, her channel. She has gone out and gotten so many pictures. Cheryl from Sun Plus One has also offered to go and get pictures of different things out in her area, and that'll enable me to have different videos. What's coming up this week, Pearl S. Buck was the writer, I believe, of The Good Earth. Phenomenal writer. Colleen was gracious enough to go to her home, the Pearl S. Buck, and there's a historic marker there as well, I believe, but she took a ton of pictures. So we're actually, it's gonna be a Heroines of Hometown History, because Pearl S. Buck is one of the pictures on that intro outro. She's a phenomenal lady, had a huge impact in her community. So we're gonna do one on her, but we're also gonna have it as sort of a tour of the home, because Colleen took so many awesome pictures. You'll get to experience that to a degree of that house, and maybe be encouraged to, hey, I should go visit this place, because it's a really cool to see someone's life in front of you like that. So it'll be slightly different. It'll be like a Pennsylvania historic marker, Heroines of Hometown History, and a tour, if you will, because Colleen just went above and beyond. It's really awesome what she did. She also has a couple other historic markers that she did. She did one on Lincoln in Honesdale, I believe it was. So I'm going to do a bunch more research on that. We'll do that one. She did one on the Girl Scout cookies, I believe, that whole thing. And then also is called Little Lithuania, which I was sort of holding off on that because I wanted to go up to Shenandoah, because in that area, those coal mining regions in Schuylkill County, Shenandoah, Minersville, Pottsville, Tamaqua, all those different towns, a lot of Eastern Europeans from Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and those different places came over to do the coal mining, and they brought their Eastern Orthodox religion over with them. And they have very unique churches, beautiful churches. So I sort of wanted to go up to Little Lithuania, the town, and also where the churches are, and sort of actually do videos of that. And we'll do that at some point when I get up in that area, because I want to go to Pottsville specifically, because there's so much stuff up there that I can do. Because Cliff and I had done a searching for history video for his channel, The Wandering Woodsman, for Pottsville. And we hit a bunch of different places, but there's a lot more there. So I want to go up there, make a day or two of it, and hit that area and start hitting a lot of these different places of historical significance, but also sort of traverse the town a little bit so you guys can see. Pottsville is very much one of those old style towns that sort of, the buildings are right on top of the streets. The town squares are very much still that same way. A lot of the buildings didn't get torn down. So it's got that feel from what you would have had in, like, say, the 30s, 40s, and 50s. It's a very neat town. A lot of really cool stuff, a lot of cool stories, that type of stuff. So I want to go back there, do a lot more on, do something on Nicholas Biddle, who is the first shots, I believe, that were fired, first people that were killed. He was the one that fired those first shots in Baltimore in defense of his, I think, colonel. He was in part of his staff and protect him. And he's buried there in Pottsville, and the one statue on Garfield Avenue is actually part of it dedicated to him. But the AME church there, which is the African Methodist, I believe is what that stands for, and the E, maybe Episcopalians or something like that. I gotta look that up. I'm wrong on that, I know. But he's buried there. Cliff and I actually missed that entirely, because it was just sort of one of those things that was happenstance that we went to, and we didn't know what we were looking at first. We didn't realize Nicholas Biddle was buried there. Also want to say thank you to, I was going through all my emails for the Hometown Historian, and I realized that Concerned Grandma had sent me a message with a really, really cool grave marker that's in Shillington, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the Miller family homestead. And I think there's only like 7 people buried there, but it's unique where the stone is because it's like right on the curb, right in the middle of town. So it's really, really unique, and it's dedicated to, I believe, Daniel Miller and then Christian Miller. Christian Miller was a reverend pastor in that area, but it was where they first settled, 1700s, and it's one of those burials like we talked about the lights, with lights for it. I think we talked about that in Tabor Reformed video, and also I believe the Chestnut Street Log House, and maybe even in Lebanon County video, some of the recent videos, that some of these families had these small family plots, and they just basically have either been paved over or whatever, so there's no sign of them being there, but Find a Grave knows that they're there. And we talked about George Stites, who was the founder of Stites-town, which eventually became Lebanon. He may be buried in one of those types, or he may be buried at Tabor Reformed Church. Nobody really knows. He's not on Find a Grave, but that's sort of, there's enough evidence that it's highly likely that he's buried at Tabor, but it's also not shocking if he's buried in one of these small cemeteries that's lost to time, because it's, he died in 1767, so a lot of that stuff, that's how people were buried back then. You didn't have these cemeteries like this that were as common, so, or people were a long distance from, so they had the small family plots. And so, there's a lot of them that we know where they're located because some of the stones are still there. But there's also a lot of them that they have wood crosses. Those are gone, long gone, and there really is no evidence of these cemeteries unless somebody just happenstance happens upon them, or historical records come up and, oh, there's a cemetery here and this is who was buried there, or whatever. It's one of those things that you just, unfortunately, over a period of that time, you lose a lot of that. But so we're going to be doing a lot of simple stuff. We're going to be revisiting certain places that we're going to go back and revisit. Derry Churchyard, which is where Colonel John Rogers is actually buried. A lot of really intriguing individuals there, so there's a lot of research I got to do yet. We're going to revisit the Union Canal Tunnel, do a little bit more on that. They have some of the placards that they had taken down to get cleaned are now back. We're also going to look at it from a different perspective, from the mule trail that went over the tunnel. So we're going to get a view of the Union Canal Tunnel in that way, and we'll probably go and take peeks at it the other ways too as well, depending on how I'm feeling walking wise. But we're going to go eventually, once I'm able to walk a little more, say in like 2 weeks, I want to go back to Memorial Lake and revisit the dam and get a different viewpoint of the dam there from the bottom, so you can actually see the dam in all its glory. We'll also go to Stover Dam Park, which is in Lebanon. That's a pretty neat place. We might do a quick drive through a Mount Lebanon cemetery, and eventually we'll do a walkthrough. We might just do one of the veterans part of the cemetery, because we had visited there with Cliff and I when we did the Blue-Eyed Six collab video. We're going to go to Sweet Arrow Lake at some point. That's a really, really neat place north of Pine Grove. A lot of really cool trails, very unique trails, because I believe they have a trail for the visually impaired, which is pretty neat. It has a lot of, it's about senses, using the senses that they have, that they're able to use to experience nature. It's a pretty neat idea, whoever came up with that. I do want to go back to Gunkel's Cemetery. Roger, my relative and subscriber to the channel, big supporter of the channel, he let me know about a Memorial Day. They were putting in a new memorial there. Now, I wasn't able to make it because of just different things that were going on at that time, but I do want to go back there, recognize that, do a little more research on some of the graves, and maybe give you a little more information, because we just sort of went there that time. We're also going to be doing a lot of these different videos, like I was talking about. A lot of these videos, it'll be a lot of, there's a Tales of Hometown History. It's about a horse, a mare called Sergeant Reckless. Really, really neat story, a lot like Wojtek, the Polish war bear. This is another, I think it's Korean War that Sergeant Reckless was in. And my friend Gail, she actually posted this story on Facebook, and I wound up saving it because I was like, this is a story that needs to be told. It's a pretty cool story. So you hear some of the familiar ones like War Horse over in World War I. They made the movie of, but this is one that you don't have anything out there about. I'd never heard it before, so that'll be cool. Also going to start a new series called Folk Tales. I got a book on Amish folk tales, German folk tales. There's a lot of really neat stories out there. A lot of them came from the old country out in Europe, but there'll be some cool stories there as well, and it's something that's reasonably easy. I'm probably going to do some more haunted history tales throughout the year. The Yuletide tales we'll save for this coming Christmas, and we got 2 out, but COVID hit, and so we'll get quite a few of those out in the Christmas time period. So I had lost my voice, which is why I wasn't able to do those videos. But and we got that theater one. At some point I want to try to get that in the next couple of weeks. We do want to return to Cornwall to hit some of these other villages, but that's partially in the walking, so that's probably going to be about 2 weeks away. But a lot of cool stuff. And then as we progress through this year, as things get solved and move forward, we are going to have that Milton Hershey video. There'll be a series on the Coleman family. I'm going to get a lot of help from Jared on that, who has offered to be able to get me in with a number of other local historians, which will help with a lot of answers for questions that I need to get answers to, and we'll go from there. But thank you as always. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate everything you guys have done, and I want to say happy anniversary to my hometown homies. And it's been a blast. There's a lot to look forward to in this coming year, in our second year, the channel, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. Hopefully continue to be entertaining, educational, edifying, enlightening, whatever other words you can come up with. But I'm really looking forward to this coming year, because I think we got a lot that's going to be coming out, and especially as my health improves, that also opens the channel up to be able to do things. We talked about doing the bike rides, but we do the Country Roads Take Me Home. I'd like to do something where I either have a helmet can or a chest cam, or I think Cliff has something where he puts it on the handlebars, and I'd like to be able to take you on some bike rides. Some different places to visit, some historical places and things of that nature. And I really do believe there's the Going About Town series is something that can really expand, like with the theater series that goes through and talks about these old theaters. Most of them aren't around anymore. Most of them, the buildings aren't even around anymore, but we do have pictures of the insides and outsides of them. We can talk about their history, what they did, this golden age of Hollywood and of the film. It was a more classical romantic time period. People dressed up. It was a show. There was a magic to it, and we want to try to relive some of that with that time period, and just talk about and reminisce of times gone by. The world changes all the time, but we always have that history, and we have what our predecessors have left behind for us, that heritage. And it's good to remember that. Good to remember these people, what they stood for, who they were, how they were loved, and how they can still be admired today and should never be forgotten. And that's what Independence Day is about. It's about remembering those who sacrificed, and their courage and bravery allows us to live the free way that we do today, and how that impacted the world ultimately as well. You look at World War II, America came into the war, the impact that made. Sure, we were attacked and all that, but we were where we were at because of the individuals who had come before. And it's always good to remember that who we are, what we are able to have, what we're able to experience is because of those who have come before us. And obviously not all of it's good, and that's part of this channel as well, as we look at both the good and the bad, warts and all. It's important to remember history, because those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. So it's been a blast. It's been fun. It's been great to go on this journey with you. It's been great going out here discovering more hometown history every single day, and I thank you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. And as always, we'll see you all about town.